What's up, everybody? Yes, we're live. Yes, it's during a Red Sox game, but this can't wait. We've waited too long, and now we're back, and I'm glad. And we've got our four main staples here, and I'm really excited. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot of things happening. We haven't talked in a long time. We've got a lot on our plate. I know all of you have a lot to say. So before we get started, if you're new, this is Red Sox Live. We're glad you're here. If you're watching a Red Sox game, it's Dinger City today. Hashtag Dinger City. I made that one up. I don't want to hear anybody taking it. You can give me credit. But before we start, I want everybody to introduce yourself. So, Ian, why don't you go ahead?
I'm Ian Becerra, and you can follow me on my Twitter handle below at Ian_Becerra.
Big Jim.
I'm Jim Monahan. You can follow me at Monahan21. Make sure you put the G in Monahan.
I always forget. Ryan.
I'm Ryan McLeod. You can follow me right down below over here. Ryan McLeod 15 on
Not
Twitter.
trying to be a weather woman anytime soon, are you?
No, not at all.
And I'm Scott Levesque. I'll be hosting today. Mendoza_lines. It's there. I want to start off real. Kind of the leading thought, obviously, is John Farrell diagnosed stage 1 lymphoma. Just initial thoughts and kind of how you reacted when you heard the news. We'll start with you, Ian.
I was kind of, as I'm sure a lot of people were, I was really sad when I heard the news. I mean, that's certainly something you're not expecting, let alone, from, like anyone and, to see, like, such a famous person out there, like John Farrell, like, get diagnosed, it really kind of takes you a step back, and you take a look back at the season and say, all right, it's been a really sucky year, but, there could be worse things going on, and for him, there are worse things going on right now. But it was really good to see the Red Sox support and Major League Baseball really come out and support him in light of all of this.
Ryan?
I initially thought that he was extremely lucky that he had to go in for his surgery, and I'm just so glad that he was able to go in when he did, so that they found the cancer in a stage 1 where it's easily treatable, and he's going to have to fight through it, but it's a lot better finding it at stage 1 now than finding it a year or two later when it's stage 3 or stage 4 and he's got no shot. So I'm just really happy that they found it when they did, and that hoping that he fights through it and he'll be back next year.
Big Jim.
It was like a punch in the gut, Scott, with everything that's happened this year from a baseball standpoint, to have this come, just like I said, just a punch in the gut for anybody who's either gone through a cancer treatment or knows someone who has. You have a taste of what this is like. There's nothing in the world like having a doctor say to you, we need to talk, you have cancer. There's it's indescribable if you've never had that said to you. And anytime a doctor says that to you, and they're going through options, we can treat this, we can do that, and all of this different things, we'll beat this. You don't hear any of that. All you hear is that word cancer, and you think, my God, I'm going to die. And it's the second and third visits to the doctor where you finally calm down a little bit and you start going through the options. So thoughts and prayers with John Farrell, who I'm sure wasn't expecting anything like this. And was it Ryan who just said, thank God he went and had that hernia operation. Thank God he picked up that suitcase in New York and actually got the hernia there. He could have been carrying this thing, walking around like a time bomb.
Totally agree. I think what it did is it was a nice thing on Twitter. People I follow obviously are all Red Sox people. It's one of those things where it brings you back to reality. We complain and cry and moan about the Red Sox decisions, but it's one of those things that when you hear the news, all that other crap disappears, and all you're focusing on is the fact that this guy's a dude, he's a human. You don't want to see anybody go through cancer. But, again, we're talking segues here. This is a great segue into the Jimmy Fund and what they're doing over at EEI and NESN and raising, I think, the last time I looked, it was $1.7 million and continually going. Jim, I know that this was something important to you. The Jimmy Fund has been going on forever, but just kind of tell me why is this important to you?
Well, as I said, it's that type of thing when if you've ever had that said to you, you have cancer. And as I wrote in the blog earlier today, there were 5 people in my immediate family who are cancer survivors who have gone through that conversation with a doctor, with medical people, and all 5 are still here and are healthy, but it's that type of thing where it's a punch in the gut. and you don't hear anything other than those words, "You have cancer." We've lost a couple of family members. I lost a very, very close friend a few years ago. He had gone into remission. He was fine, and the next thing you knew, it came back, and when it came back with a vengeance and spread so quickly, he was gone within a matter of months. So, and one other friend of mine on social media, a little boy who actually I found through John Lester when John was still with the Red Sox. John had tweeted out a picture of this little kid who was, I want to say, a little under a year at the time, a boy named J.R., John Ryan. And Lester tweeted out a picture of this kid wearing a Superman cape. And whenever this kid went in for chemo, he had his Superman cape on. And to watch his parents, who I got pretty close with his dad, to watch what they were going through, a very young couple, this was their first child, and they had no idea what the future would hold. There was serious concern that the baby would not make it. He just turned 2 fairly recently, and they have a new baby in the family, and everybody's doing really well, and it's just been one of those great stories. So when you see something like this with Farrell or somebody you know from your family or a friend go through this type of thing, the stories that you hear from the Jimmy Fund through this telethon that they do annually now, this is 14 years, for 2 days, it just really hits home. And as you said, Scott, while baseball is a business, and I get that part of it, there's so much more to it. There's so much more to life than just that. Whether we win, whether we lose, who's the manager, who's in center field, who's in left field, what do we do with third base, all of that. It just kind of, as you said, puts it into perspective.
Totally agree, and just to give everybody an update right now, about 8 minutes ago, the Jimmy Fund Twitter account just posted they have over $2.6 million that has been raised already, which is awesome. If you haven't had a chance to give, it's an incredible foundation, jimmyfund.org, all one word. Go there. You can text, give $10. I mean, really, every little bit counts, and if you hear the stories on NESN, on the Red Sox broadcast, these are kids that have been not only affected, but some of them have really benefited from the research, and so, you know, as kind of terrible as the season's been, this is a great event, and it's a great opportunity to give back and to help those who are in need of help. So I'm glad that Jimmy Fund's going strong, and yeah, Jim, thanks for sharing. Moving kind of to another news item that happened yesterday mid-game, which was really just absolutely strange. I still can't figure out why they did this. Dave Dombrowski, am I saying that last name correct?
That's correct, Dombrowski, okay. Yes.
Hired 7th inning, I'm assuming. Am I right on that? 6th, 7th inning? It's announced on NESN during the game. Kind of had some time to take it in. Just out of curiosity, Ryan, what are your thoughts on the hire?
Well, you know, I thought that when he was let go by the Tigers, I thought that it was somebody that the Red Sox were really going to have to go after hard. And I thought that they were going to go after him hard in the offseason to get him. So I'm really glad that they went out and they got him. You know, he's proven that, you know, he's able to build teams that can compete. He turned around a Detroit Tigers team who lost 119 games, and he put them in the American League Championship Series 3 years later. So he's proven that he can build teams. But I agree. I have no idea why the Red Sox announced it when they did. I think that they did an absolutely abysmal job with announcing it. You know, they almost ambushed their players coming off the field and coming into the clubhouse after the game with, you know, reporters wanting to ask them questions about it. You know, I think, you know, either asking it after the game or announcing it after the game or announcing it before the game. But, you know, in the 7th inning, in a game the Sox are way up during the middle of the Jimmy Fund, is an odd time to announce it. So I think that the front office kind of messed up that one. But I'm still really happy with the signing, and I think he's going to make some big moves that are going to involve a couple of major league players and a couple of highly rated prospects, and, you know, work on turning this team around.
What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I think it's a good move. I think it's one they definitely needed to make, and especially if the reports about Toronto going after him hard are true, then it's one you have to make now. And as you were saying at his press conference earlier, coming in now gives him a big advantage because he gets to look at the team from a first-hand perspective and, you know, go in and talk to everyone else who's been there all year, see what's been going on. Not that he doesn't know what's going on, but it just gives him more of a long look, kind of like we're seeing now with Castillo and Bradley. They're getting their tryouts for next year. Well, Dombrowski gets to see what what's going on in these tryouts for next year. So I think that helps him tremendously, and I think it'll be a good move for him. But I do also think, like Ryan said, I think the timing of it was odd, especially during the Jimmy Fund. I mean, you couldn't have waited a couple days to make this official, but it's a good move nevertheless, and so I'm really happy that he's here.
Jim, you surprised Charrington's out?
Not really. Not really. I know they're saying all the right things. We wanted Ben to stay. We were really hoping he would stay. Dombrowski even said that just a little while ago, talking with Dave O'Brien and Joe Castiglione on EEI. I was listening as I was driving home. They're all saying the right things, but I think it was a fait accompli that if a president of baseball operations came in, and there was speculation, obviously, some weeks ago when Dombrowski was let go of Detroit that this would happen, but I think it was a fait accompli that when somebody came into that position, which John Henry, I believe it was, said they were going to create, it was just a matter of time before Charrington left.
So was he? Are you saying that he was pushed, or did he jump?
I think he was pushed. I think he was
Really?
definitely pushed. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't think he fit into the long-term plans.
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of both. I think he saw the writing on the wall, man. He was out of there. I mean, you can't go. Great. Everybody loved the 2013 World Series. I mean, I loved it. It was probably the second best one after 2004, but at least in my mind. But you can't go last place 3 out of those 4 years and still think you're going to keep your job. Plus some of the moves that were made and some of the things that were done, it's brutal. It was brutal. He had to go. I don't harbor any bad feelings for him. I just think, man, he made some dumb moves, and that's what ends up happening. I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think they were
it's good.
Did you notice that Lucchino was not at the press conference?
Larry Lucchino does not run the Red Sox.
I understand that, but did you notice that he was not at the press conference?
Yeah, it was just Warner and Henry, right?
Telling. I thought it was very telling that he was not there. For everyone who wondered, because you never were quite sure, like the John Lester thing, the debacle from last year, for example. Who was responsible for that? Was it Charrington? Was it Lucchino? Was it John Henry? You were never quite sure whose fingerprints were on it. So by Lucchino not being there today, it just seemed to me that there was this subtle message of saying, it's Dave Dombrowski's team. Dave's going to be running this operation. Sam will be doing the business stuff. Sam Kennedy, of course, who just came in a few weeks ago. But Dave Dombrowski is doing the baseball operations. I do not think it was an accident that Larry Lucchino was not at that press conference.
Ian, do you think Charrington's the scapegoat in this, or do you think this is all just playing itself out like it should?
I think it's playing itself out like it should. I mean, like you were saying, three out of 4 last place finishes just about. I mean, that's not going to cut it, whether you're here in a market that doesn't care about baseball. I mean, eventually you have to be held accountable for the team you put together, and he didn't put together a good team. So I think it was a good move to get rid of him. I mean, some more changes needed yet again, but I think, again, to undo all this, you need someone else new, a new philosophy, just see what you can't do with a new person. I mean, bringing in Dombrowski, I think, is only going to bring better things, because where else do they have to go from here?
True. So with the clean sweep of, well, I shouldn't say clean sweep, with Charrington gone, I want to turn our attention to the fields and the fact that Hanley Ramirez is the worst freaking outfielder I've ever seen in my damn life. The fact that he doesn't get booed or banned from the outfield at any position there is amazing to me. The guy's a joke. I'm sorry. I don't care if he was watching this or not. I doubt he is. But he should not be allowed to be anywhere near left field. That play the other night, I think it was last night, where the ball just dropped over his head right before the monster, was pathetic. And I personally think that's the undoing of Matt Barnes. Jim knows my feeling about Matt Barnes. You got to keep him as a starter. He's not a bullpen guy. But I think it really crushed that whole inning, which caused the rally. Now, that's not everything, but in my opinion, he really screwed that up, and just another reason why Hanley shouldn't be anywhere near the field except for when he's running the bases as a DH. Ryan, what are they going to do with Hanley?
I think Hanley's the guy that they try and move this offseason. Everyone's calling for them to move both Hanley and Sandoval, and I don't think that can happen. I don't think they can swing both of them. Hanley, he's he's only got a 4-year deal compared to Sandoval's 5, so he's only going to have 3 years left on a contract. And he has a higher ceiling for offense than Sandoval does, so he's going to appeal to teams that, could have him play in the infield and then transition him to a designated hitter role. So I see, he's gonna play out there for the rest of this year, and he's gonna, but I think that, next year Hanley Ramirez probably won't be with the Red Sox. He's gonna be one of the guys that Dombrowski looks to package with some minor leaguers to get starting pitching, which is what Dombrowski said today. Is he was asked, how do you make the pitching staff better? And he says, you go get better pitchers. It's the most obvious answer you can get. How do you make something better? You go get guys that are good at it. And that's what Dombrowski's going to do, and I think he uses Ramirez to go do that.
Yeah, but Ramirez is junk.
Yes.
He's making over 20 mil a year. You think anybody's going to actually pay for that?
I think that the Sox will probably eat some of the salary, or they're going to package a lot of minor leaguers. Dombrowski's known for giving up minor leaguers that he thinks are overrated, and I think that everybody in the system other than Moncada should be available right now.
Ian, do you agree?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to look to
trade
some prospects going forward. Some prospects going forward, not all of them, but you got to deal some of them.
Have we not learned anything from the 2015 youth movement?
Not all of them, but again, not everyone's going to have a spot. I mean, you're going to end up with a logjam somewhere.
I would rather have Pawtucket up here now than I would anything else. I'm not going to lie to you.
But so going back to Hanley, I think you definitely have to try to move him, but that's going to be the hardest move because where's he going to play even on another team? I mean, it looks like you'd have to trade him to an American League team, put him at DH somewhere. I think that's the only place where he really has value because you have to go with the young outfield that they have right now with Betts, Bradley, and Castillo. I mean, Dombrowski said it today at the press conference when he was talking about people he was excited about. He said excited to see the young outfield, and I don't think he was referring to Hanley in that.
No, but did you see the Jared Carabas vine of his face when JBJ made that catch in the first inning?
Yep,
priceless. He had the beautiful hair, and he's just like, wow. That's right, baby. That could be your everyday outfielder.
Jim, it should be.
Yeah, Jim. Porcello or Hanley? Who do you move in the offseason if you can only move one?
Ramirez.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, because you've got a replacement already. You just mentioned the outfield. They don't need Hanley. I'm not convinced that Porcello can't be fixed. As I've mentioned in a couple of these Red Sox lives that we've done, I've seen Porcello before at a variety of levels. He's been very successful. I don't think it was an accident that at every season in the major leagues, starting from his rookie year when he was still only 20 years old, he was in double-digit wins every year. Obviously, this has been a drawback. Is it because there's no number one ahead of him? Probably, I can't say, but I think he's too good, and they have to get him figured out. He's too good to just say, well, screw him, he's done, he can't pitch here. Hanley, we know what we have of him. The guy can hit. I don't think David Ortiz is going anywhere next year, even if he hits number 500 in the next 5 or 6 weeks before the season is over. I don't know what you're going to get for Ramirez. I don't know that they would just release him outright. There's way too much money involved with that. But if I had to pick one who I think will be gone next year and who'll be here, I think Ramirez is gone and Porcello's still here.
Really? Man, I don't know.
Where are you going to play Ramirez if he's here? What are you going to do with him?
It's a great question. Can David retire after 500?
He could. I don't think he will.
Is that blasphemous to ask?
He's still hitting the ball.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this goes back to even like a Tom Brady question. When do you trade Montana? Do you trade him when he's got value, or do you trade him when he's I guess when he's Sandoval or Hanley right now when he's got very little value? I don't know.
I think John Henry's made it very clear that David Ortiz is going to end his career in a Red Sox uniform.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's obvious that that's going to happen. So I think even the thought of trading Ortiz, whether it should or could happen, whether it should is different. It's not going to. Henry's made that clear. David Ortiz will be retiring in a Red Sox uniform, and not as a ceremonial, one-day contract signing type of thing. When he decides to hang it up, he'll still be a member of this team.
Interesting. Ryan, should we if Ortiz hits 500 this year, okay, which is looking more and more like that's going to happen, should the Red Sox have a long chat with him in the offseason? Should John Henry sit him down and say, listen, Ortiz, let me make you player bench coach, okay? We're gonna put you in a DH, every now and then, but we've got this kid Hanley, and you see how much he sucks in the outfield. We need him in the DH spot. Do they have that conversation or not?
I mean, I think that conversation only happens if they can't get rid of Hanley, and I really think that they can, because eventually they're just gonna take peanuts for Hanley. David Ortiz in the last month has not looked like he'll be done at the end of this year. He's looked pretty good. He hit another home run tonight. He's now 8 away from 500, which is, the big number that he wants. But, after he hits 500, he's going to say, oh, I want 525. He's gonna stick around. If there will be a time when they say, David, you have to retire, but I don't see it being this year. But they also aren't going to let him, keep signing, extensions for another year or 2 years. I think that he's got this year and next year, and that's going to be it for David. And I think that would put David out on good terms.
I feel like we say that every year. He's got this year and then the following year. Then we have.
But then he produces every year the next year.
Ryan, that's got to stop at some point. Like, he's not going to do that anymore.
But he's doing it now still.
Oh my gosh, I totally understand what you're saying, but like, this is the business side of things. Like, at some point, he is not going to hit 30 in 85 or 100. He's going to hit 12 and 65, and then next year he's going to be 40.
But that'll be his last year. I mean, maybe they have the conversation with them where they say, if you don't hit 20 a year, if you don't hit 15 a year, that's it. We're done. You're done.
Yeah, I think at some point he becomes kind of the bottleneck to any future success when it comes to the DH spot.
This town would erupt if they forced him out.
This town's going to erupt when they trade Brady, but it's going to happen. Ryan, I love that. I love it, though.
David Ortiz has done more for Boston than Brady has done for New England.
Oh, you're lucky we're on Red Sox Live, because if that was thrown over at Patriots Life, you would be slaughtered. Slaughtered.
Ryan, I'm behind you on that.
I mean, David Ortiz was one of the guys who led the charge in 2013.
No,
behind
he was
the Boston Marathon bombing.
He was the guy.
Yeah.
But we also forget about the Bruins. We forget about the Bruins. The Bruins were the first game that was played, a professional sports game that was played. Do you not remember the beautiful anthem that was sung by the crowd?
The Bruins weren't able to put the Stanley Cup down on the finish line that next year.
Wow. So low, dude. So low.
Sorry, I love the Bruins too, but the Red Sox did it. They did more for the city than the Bruins did that year.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's off topic. I think that David Ortiz has the ability to play one more year. And, if he does the same thing next year as he does this year, I'll say it again next year. David Ortiz will play a year again after.
Gosh. I don't want you in the front office. I do not want you in the front office. This is killing me.
Ride the streak, though.
What?
Ride the streak. I mean, until it ends, it ends. Like, once you see he's having that bad year, in the midst of that bad year, you say, you find someone else to take more DH at bats.
Time out. You're not going to sit here and tell me that in the first half of the season you weren't like, David Ortiz is done.
To be honest, the whole team was done, so, I mean, it wasn't
No. I didn't ask about the whole team.
Point.
I asked you about David Ortiz. In the beginning of the first half of the season, David Ortiz sucked.
He did.
Oh.
He did, but it's 162 for a reason, though.
Oh my gosh.
The Red Sox are such a calamity. They don't know how many outs there are. They just throw a baseball, live ball, in the bleachers, 2 outs, and 2 outs.
Sorry, I had to mute him. That was just brutal. Sorry, Ryan, I had to mute you.
I think what he was saying was Rusney Castillo just threw a ball into the bleachers. He thought there were 2 out, so he caught the ball near the triangle and he flipped it just past the Red Sox bullpen.
How bad is that?
I'm not at my TV. Can somebody get a Vine of that, please? I'm not at my TV. I don't know. I don't have it. That's
I don't think anybody knows what happened here.
That's just par for the course. That's 2015, which is why I asked, is the season over yet? That's brutal. Yeah. That is absolutely brutal. All right, JBJ, right? So he's getting his shot, and he's taking full advantage of it. He's way above the Mendoza line now. I think after tonight he might even be hitting 250. He's got 5 ding-dongs, as Jared Carabas would say, dingers. And so he's looking like he's starting to turn some things around now that he's getting an opportunity to play almost every day. Ian, is this a guy we're keeping, or is he trade bait? Is he gone next year?
I think they should keep him going forward, but I think it also depends on what goes on with Hanley. I think, obviously, if you're going to make a trade in that outfield, you're going to get the most value for one of those 3 guys. And if they can't move Hanley, I wouldn't be surprised if they move one of those 3. Not that I'm saying they should, but I feel like if they move one of those 3, they could get a good pitcher back in return. So I think that's, again, just one thing they have to look at going forward, just one other option. But I think he should be here to stay. He should be in center field. Best outfielder in the game of baseball. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He should be in center. Obviously, they're waiting to see if he can hit long term, I think, before moving him in there, moving Betts over, because you got to put the best center fielder out there. We saw his catch tonight. We've seen what he's been doing since he's been called up. And I think the hitting will be sustained, not obviously at this level, but to some extent, I think he can sustain it. And again, a 250 Jackie Bradley is better than a lot of guys out there.
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
What's this obsession with moving Jackie Bradley Jr. to center field? I tend to think Mookie Betts has played maybe just a notch below JBJ, but for a guy who's not naturally a center fielder, why are we so eager to move him to right?
Well, again, he's new. If he's new at the outfield, I don't think it would be drastic to say, all right, now move to right field. He did play a lot of right field last year when Victorino was hurt, getting his feet wet in the outfield, and I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to put him in right and have the better defensive outfielder in center field, the premier defensive position.
Listen, you don't have to get sassy with me, Ian. I'm just asking a question. Jeez.
Been through too many battles on that one.
I guess so. Jim, can you please take your stubbornness with JD Drew, or not JD, Stephen Drew, and at least we'll get back to the conversation we had online the other day in a minute here. But can you please at least be on my side that you should keep Mookie in center field?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, now you're not listening to me? Can you can you be on my side and argue with me that Mookie should stay in center field?
The only reason that I would not put Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field is if he's in right with that cannon of an arm.
And he is
the only reason. But that's it. But if you're gonna, when they don't have Castillo out there.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, because he knows how many. He doesn't even know how to count. So why we even have?
Jackie Bradley Jr. is hands down the best center fielder that I have seen in Fenway Park in a long, long time, going back to Fred Lynn. And none of you guys are old enough to remember Lynn. Lynn didn't run to the ball. Lynn glided to the ball. And Bradley Jr. reminds me of Lynn like that. He does things in the outfield. The jumps that he gets are incredible. I love Betts. I think he's a terrific kid. He's got a lot of poise out there. I love what he's done. This guy has played most of his career at the minor league level in the infield. Put him in left, put Bradley Jr. in center, and Castillo or somebody else with a gun in right field. I think Castillo's coming around, to be honest with you. And I like what I've seen, aside from throwing the ball into the stands and not knowing how many outs there are, obviously. But when you have a defensive outfielder the caliber of Jackie Bradley Jr., why in the name of all that is holy are we even remotely considering putting him anywhere but center field?
I have an idea, and I threw this on Twitter, and I think it's actually a brilliant idea. If Hanley has to play the field, I want him to be behind the catcher, and I want Jackie Bradley Jr. to play left center, and I want Mookie Betts to play right center, and I just want them to cover ground. Like I don't want Hanley anywhere near, and you know what? they would get to the ball faster if it was hit to the corners than Hanley would if he was actually standing in the corner.
Unfortunately, Scott, the rules do not allow for anybody other than the catcher to be outside the field of fair territory. So
I'm willing to take this to the competition committee if I'm the Red Sox. I really am. I'm thinking about this.
We can have Hanley play that the softball league shallow center.
The roamer?
Yeah.
The cutoff roamer? Yeah. I think he'd still screw him up. He'd still screw him up. I don't want him anywhere near where a ball needs to be played by Mookie or JBJ. I don't want him anywhere near it. As a matter of fact, if you look at a lot of the plays in the outfield, when whoever Mookie or Jackie is playing center, they're covering more of his ground than he is, if you notice. And they're backing him up constantly from the wall because they know the ball's getting by him when it bounces off the wall. It's inherent. All right, couple things I want to throw out there before we get to the Twitter questions. Number one, we haven't seen Dustin Pedroia for the good part of the second half of the season. So I'm going to throw this back out there again. Do we trade him?
too late.
Not now, but maybe in the offseason?
He better be healthy.
Oh, he'll be healthy.
Otherwise, it's too late.
All right. I'll go Ryan. What are we doing with him?
No, you don't trade him. I mean, I think it's something that we've talked about before on this podcast, and it got quite the reaction. So I don't think you trade him. I don't think we see him again this year, just because, we're talking, is the season done? Even with this offense, this season's done, and, I really don't want to risk him coming back and playing the last 3 weeks of the season and, re-injuring something else. So I think he's done for the year, but I don't think, you're really going to trade him when he hasn't played an entire second half of the season because you're not going to get that much for him.
Ian, be the man that goes against the grain, dude.
I can't do it.
Be the Mike Felger of this conversation right now.
Well, I guess the only way you could look at this is saying you make a trade for him, but you could trade him, try to get some sort of pitching back. But again, with him not playing this much, the narrative is going to be, he can't stay healthy, he can't stay on the field, which is true. So I think you'd be selling low at that point. But I think you could do that. And if you don't end up trading Hanley, what could end up happening, not that you'd want to do this, but just one possibility, is you can move Betts back to second and put Bradley out in center and leave Hanley in left field if we have to.
Guys, we have so many answers that you're not even seeing in front of you. I mean, we have so many. Why do Brock Holt can play second. He's done it. Really?
He's a 4A player. He's a 4A player. He's been exposed because he's been playing every day. He is not an everyday player. I like the guy. He's great coming off the bench. He cannot play every day. We've seen what he's done since Pedroia has been out.
And what has he done?
What's his average? Have you looked at his numbers since the end of June, beginning of July?
What kind of average would you have if you were going to the ballpark and you had one of 19 different positions you could play and you don't know?
But I'm talking about since they've stuck him at second base, since Pedroia's been out again. Remember when we all complained about Jacoby D. Ellsbury? Have we done anything since D. Ellsbury left? But wow. God forbid, and I love Pedroia, but God forbid anybody question Pedroia.
Well, Jim's on a high horse right now. Stay up there, man. Listen, I think, here's what I'm thinking. Pedroia, Hanley, and Owens, package them up for Chris Sale. Are we doing it? I know. This is why I should be GM. This is why I should be GM.
Is this your resume? Are you submitting this to Dombrowski? That's your package?
First of all, if he's actually watching this, then he should consider me for GM because that's ridiculous for him to be watching this right now. And yeah, absolutely. I think I could do one heck of a job there. I got my ear to the grindstone. I know what the fans want. I'm like Dana White. I'm going to give you what you want, and then when you complain about it, I'm going to shove it back in your face and say, you asked for it. You wanted Chris Sale. I got him for you. It's not my fault now he can't do anything. Needless to say. All right, I'm off there. All right, let's get to some Twitter questions here. I like Twitter questions. I'm going to rack it up. Here's one. Book Girl 8. Lisette? Is that her name? Lisette?
Yeah,
Anyways,
Lissette, yes.
what are your thoughts on Hanley Ramirez's future with the Sox? I think we covered this, but uh, just to give her kind of a one-sentence thing, Ian, what's your thoughts?
Bye-bye, Hanley.
Well, that's nice. Very succinct. Jim?
Packaged in a deal somewhere, but yeah, bye-bye, Hanley.
Probably the deal I told you about with Sale. I know you liked it. Ryan?
California lifestyle. He's heading out back west.
With who? Please don't tell me the Dodgers.
No, he won't go back to the Dodgers. He'll go to either the Angels or down to San Diego.
Good riddance. Great. All right, next question. What big free agent will Boston go after? Ryan, I'll throw it back to you.
They will sign a Dombrowski guy. They will get David Price. You know, this team needs pitching, and it's gonna, David Ortiz is gonna have to, suck it up because for the last 8 years he hasn't liked David Price. But he's one of the big name pitchers this offseason, and Dombrowski has a relationship with him, and he's murdered the AL East before. It's time for him to murder the AL East on our side.
Too sensitive. Way too sensitive. His whole thing about coming back here was that we had to be nice to him on Twitter so he didn't get hurt. David Price is way too sensitive, man. I don't know. Listen.
We'll just give him his popcorn, and he'll be in his locker every day, and he'll be happy. We'll just have every time. I'll just buy him popcorn every day. Every start. I'll go to the game. I'll have popcorn ready for him. He can be happy. Just ignore the Twitter trolls.
Fair enough. All right. Ian, who are we grabbing this offseason?
I was going to go with Price on that one, but I think another interesting guy that they could go after would be Johnny Cueto, coming over to the AL now for the first time with the Royals. I think he's the real deal. I think he'd be someone really worth going after as another big-name starter, because I don't think there's no chance that they go after any hitters in the free agent market.
What about both?
You could, but I don't know if they want to go down.
Has the Red Sox ever given you any inclination that they're not willing to spend money?
No, they have not, but should they spend money? That's the question.
If you can unload, absolutely. You know what? We could just fire sale, man. Let's get rid of Hanley. Let's get rid of the Panda. Let's ship him off to wherever, the San Diego Zoo, for all I care. Just get him out of here. Let him start Instagram liking things over there. I don't really care, man. Just get him out of here. I don't want dead weight. You know who I want? I want winners, Ian. I want winners. That's who I want.
Don't we all right now?
I think Ian doesn't even know what to say. I'm like all up in his grill tonight. All right, Jim. Let me guess. No, before you even go any further, we need to re-sign Steven Drew. Right, Drew?
For viewers who have no idea what this is about, it goes back to the 2013 World Series when I campaigned vehemently to leave Drew in the field even though he wasn't hitting his waist size, let alone above the Mendoza line, to use Scott's Twitter handle. He's fine where he is right now. We can leave him where he is. I would imagine that David Price would be on their list. I don't know if they would sign him or not. He's above the age they like to go after, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be 30.
Yeah.
Or he is 30.
Cueto comes in Friday night, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's pitching Friday night with the Royals, so we'll get a good look at him Friday if that's a direction that the Red Sox want to go in.
The Red Sox need to look at the Royals' bullpen. That bullpen is ridiculous, and I would take one of those guys and just pitch him every day at the back end. I don't even care. Just pitch it. I mean, our bullpen sucks. That's another time for another topic, but dear gosh, we can't even hold the 22-2 lead. It's brutal. But
I would also think that in the offseason, the Mets and the Red Sox have some discussions. Because God knows the Mets are loaded with pitching.
With Harvey in particular?
Possibly. I think that Harvey's going to price himself out of the market as far as the Mets are concerned, but he'd certainly be one of the guys that I think the Mets and Red Sox might have a discussion about.
So here's what I'm thinking, Jim. If I'm playing matchmaker right now, I'm selling as much as I can, and I'm trying to get my first three in the rotation to be Price, Cueto, and Harvey. How much would you salivate over that?
Wow.
With the back end being Rodriguez and rotate
Porcello or Buchholz.
Yeah.
No. We don't need
No.
Unbreakable in the back end of that rotation.
Those are the guys that you think.
No, you know who I think deserves it? Stephen Wright. I think deserves that fifth, at least a rotational fifth spot.
Eric's guy over there.
Yeah, Eric loves him some knuckleball. It's uncomfortable how much he tweets about that.
Gotta give him a shout out on that.
Yeah, that is a very uncomfortable Twitter thing that he's got with the knuckleballer. But all right, well we're gonna wrap it up tonight. Thank you for everybody for the questions. If you have more questions, tweet at me. We'll do this. We're gonna try to do this more often, at least once a week, if not once every other week. But I want to thank Ian, Jim, and Ryan for coming on today. I know it's during the Red Sox game. I actually don't even know because I'm not near. Are we still winning?
I believe it's 7-1 still.
It's 6-1.
6-1 in the seventh. The inning was the seventh.
Yep.
The real question is Kelly still in?
No,
No.
he was taken out after 100 pitches in the end of the sixth inning, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well,
He was not happy.
Well, listen,
But
we need him
too
for
bad.
trade bait. We need him for trade bait. He's got to go somewhere next year, so we need him to be healthy. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate that. Again, if you want to follow any of these guys, they write consistently for Red Sox Life. You can follow Ian over here at Ian_. And I don't even know how to say your name, last name, Ian.
Visera.
Becerra. It's
Yep.
just like I'm not good with phonetics, dude. So he's right there. Jim Monahan with the G.
Yes.
Right there, Monahan 21, and then of course you got Ryan. I always say your name, McLeod.
Yep.
Look at that. Ryan McLeod 15 all one, and of course I'm Mendoza_lines. Again, check everything out on Red Sox Life. That's Red Sox Life, all one words. Follow us on Twitter. Look us up on RedSoxLife.com. Appreciate everything you've done, guys. Have a great evening. Take care.
Thanks, you too.